don't feel guilty. I don't feel guilty at all. I'm sitting here in this cell, clapped in irons, waiting to be hanged in the morning. And I don't care about that, neither. It all started the day I signed on a square rigger that was bound for the New World. The crew told me that on the last voyage they'd run into the doldrums. Now, the doldrums is a place out in the middle of the ocean where there ain't no wind. The sea is like glass in every direction. The sails hang like wilted lettuce in the yard arms, and the sun is so hot you can hardly breathe. It's not a very large area, but you can't sail out of it. On the day we was to set sail, I heard the sound of horse hoofs on the dock. I run up on deck, and there they was, 30 of them. I'd never seen such gorgeous creatures before. Their faces was beautiful, and their coats was shining, their movements was like a song. I run straight away to the first mate and asked if I could be in charge. He said, right. So we marched them on board down into the hold, into their stores, and then we set sail. All during the voyage, I took care of them. I watered them and fed them and cleaned out their stalls, put around fresh straw, too, so they'd be comfy. And every day I'd rub down their legs. You see, horses was born to run, and if they can't move about, they gets awful jittery. So I'd rub down their legs every day. They seemed to like that. Oh, each one of them had his own special way about him. And I named them all, Blackie and Brownie and Yardarm and Master Duke and so on. I used to steal sugar out the galley. There was a little brown and white pinto I called Clouds who used to pick it right out of me pocket. Oh, I loved them all. But there was 2 of them I think I was a little partial to. There was a beautiful mare I called Jessica. She used to shake her head at me every time I walked by. Then there was a very noble-looking gentleman with a white blaze down his face. I called him I, because he looked me right in the eye whenever I talked to him, and he'd call me too during the day. He'd go, "Ooh, ooh." And I'd say, "Now settle down, I boy, it's all right. I'm right here." Oh, we had a lovely time down there in the hold, we did. One afternoon, the storm clouds started rolling in. The sea turned to whitecaps, and by nightfall we was in the middle of a ferocious storm. We was being banged back and forth down there in the hold. Me horses was terribly frightened. They was stamping about and crying out and pulling on their ties. I went around to each one of them and petted him down and called him by name. Then I sang him some songs. Bawdy songs, I'm afraid they was, the kind I learned in the taverns. Well, they didn't listen to the words, but they loved the tunes. And I calmed them down right there in the middle of the storm. They trusted me after that. They knew that if I was there, they'd be all right, and I was always there. I spent all my time in the hold. 8 weeks out, we run into the doldrums. The ship come to a standstill and the sails hung slack. Late in the afternoon, the captain ordered me to bring the horses on deck, and I marched them up. Oh, they were so happy to be out in the fresh air. They was prancing about and breathing deep. Then we rigged up a crane and pushed it over the side, and one by one we lowered each one of me gentle friends down into the water. They were strung out in 2 lines, 15 and 15, and them tied to the bow of the ship. The captain ordered me out in a longboat. We rowed out ahead with them. Oh, I was so happy for them. They seemed to be enjoying the cool water. When we got out ahead of them, the first mate ordered me to call to Jessica and I, who was the leaders. And when they heard my voice, they started swimming toward me. And all together, the horses began to pull the ship. We rode ahead of them all night long. I held up a lantern so's me beauties could see me. And they pulled the great ship slowly and steadily through the still black water. Oh, I wish you could have been there. They was magnificent to see. Their heads was held high, and their eyes was shining, and their ears was erect as they trotted slowly and proudly through the water. They swam all night, and in the morning it turned light at the horizon, and the sun peeped up, and they was still going strong. I was so proud. Atta girl, Jessica. Good boy, I, me proud beauty. And the ship moved on. Late in the morning, I could see they was growing tired, and thirsty, too. I turned to say something to the first mate, but just then a shout rang out from the ship. We looked back. The sails was beginning to billow. Oh, I breathed a great sigh of relief. The wind had come up. We was out of the doldrums. We rowed back to the ship, and as I climbed on board, the captain said, "Good job, lad." Right there in front of the whole crew, he did. And I said, "Well, thank you, sir, but it was me horses done the work." We hauled up the longboat. Then I pushed the crane over to begin picking up me horses who was milling about, when suddenly the captain sang out, "Cut the lines! Make full sail! We've got time to make up." Someone picked up a hatchet and cut the lines to me horses, and we started moving forward. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The men was running around like crazy trying to get all the sails to the wind, but nobody was paying any attention to the horses. I ran forward and shouted at the captain. The first mate jumped in my way and ordered the master-at-arms to throw me off the bridge. He hit me, knocked me down, then pulled out his pistol and pointed it at me and started counting. I jumped up and ran back to the stern. Oh, me horses was already drifted far back. They was swimming, trying to keep up, but they was so tired. They was losing fast. The sea had begun its giant swells again, and I'd see their heads at the crest of a wave. And then they'd disappear into the trough and then reappear at the crest of a wave. And each time their heads got smaller and smaller. And then they was gone. I just stood out there at the stern, gazing into the empty sea. Then suddenly, way far back, I saw a head at the crest of a wave. It was I. He was still swimming strong, and he called to me. And then he was gone. I stood out there in the stern for the rest of the day, just staring into the empty sea. When the night time came, I leaned over and picked up a hatchet that was used to cut the lines to me horses and began making me way forward to the captain's quarters. I opened the door and peered in. All the officers was sitting around a candlelit table having dinner. They all turned and stared at me. It was unheard of for a common seaman to come into the captain's quarters, and he said, "Here now, what's this?" I walked up to him and swung the hatchet and split his head open down to his chin. Then I swung at the first mate and near took his head off. And I buried the hatchet deep in the master-at-arms' chest. There was blood and gore everywhere. No one moved, and I was glad for what I'd done. So now, here I sit in this cell, waiting to be hanged in the morning. I haven't slept a wink since then. Not because of what I done to the captain, but because I still hear me beauties calling to me from over the wave.